Good morning, everyone. My name's Gary Shaw. I'm going to be your instructor today. I want to thank you all for coming here today. Today we're going to continue with our safety program, and what we're going to be talking about today is job site safety, specifically the metal stud cutoff saw. Now, what we're going to learn today is how to properly inspect, set up, and use the metal stud cutoff saw in a safe manner. Now, why is this important to you? Well, as carpenters, it's important to you because a metal stud cutoff saw is something we use every day in a job site, especially if you work for a metal stud contractor or a drywall contractor. You're going to be expected to use one of these things every day. Now, a job site is a dangerous place, and carpenters are exposed to hazards every day throughout it. And a metal stud cutoff saw is one of these hazards. So by knowing how to properly set up and use a saw is going to make you more valuable to the contractor, turning you into a safe worker and a high-performing individual. So, with that said, let's get into the saw and kind of take a look at it. First thing you do if you have to use one of these saws, you get it out of the tool room, set it up on your bench, and you want to go through it and inspect it. You want to make sure that the blade guard is in good working order. Check the plastic housing on the saw, make sure that the trigger's working. There's no cracks in the plastic, no burn marks in the plastic in case anything happened to the motor. Another thing is, and very important, is you want to inspect the cord. You want to take a look at the cord, go down the cord the whole way, roll it through your fingers and really take a good look at it. Make sure that there's no nicks or abrasions in the cord, and also the plug end. Oftentimes people unplug these things, they throw them on the floor, people step on them, equipment can run over them. So you want to make sure that the plug is in good working order. And if you find something that's an imperfection on the cord, something that you think is questionable, get your direct supervisor involved. Either get the foreman or the shop steward, have them take a look at it, and they'll determine if the saw should be taken out of service. Typically, what I'd like to do if the cord is damaged, I like to cut the cord right off. I'll then tag the saw that the saw is damaged, and then send it out for repair. Don't take it upon yourself to replace the cord. It's got to be replaced and repaired by a competent person, somebody that knows what they're doing at a proper facility. The next thing, which is also nice to do, is take a look at the owner's manual. All these saws come with a manual. It's a good idea to familiarize yourself with the saw, the different features on it, the locking mechanisms, the clamping devices, the angle devices, things like that. Another important thing to look at is the saw blade itself. Now, on a saw like this here, this is an abrasive blade, and as you use this saw, the blade gets smaller and smaller. It can also get cracked and things like that. So if the blade is too small or it's damaged, then it needs to be replaced. So for training purposes, let's assume that this blade is too small and it needs to be replaced. So what you would do is engage the locking mechanism that locks the blade so it can't be turned. Remove the packing nut on the side of it. This one here happens to be a device that you don't need a wrench, but oftentimes they do need a wrench. And then there's that just fell off the compression washer. Remove the compression washer, and then take the abrasive blade right off. Then you get the correct abrasive blade. Now, with an abrasive blade like this, these are non-directional. They can go on anyways. Typically, I like to have the side going out. It's not like a regular saw blade that is directional. These abrasive blades are non-directional. Put the blade on, put the compression washer on, and then install a packing nut. Make sure that's on nice and tight. There we go. So the blade's on. Now, next we need to talk about is PPE, personal protective equipment. So you know, on a job site, we always use safety glasses, hard hats, and work shoes. When we're working with a metal stud cutoff saw, we have to take it to the next level. First thing what I like to do is gloves. Always wear work gloves when you're working with a metal stud cutoff saw and metal studs. You can get cut really badly by metal studs, and also there's oil that's on these metal studs to keep them from getting rusted. That oil is very toxic. If you cut your hand with that, that oil can infect you very badly. So if you do get cut, you need to wash it out, let your foreman know so that they can fill out an incident report. Next thing when you're working with these is hearing protection. You really do need to have some form of hearing protection with these. These make a lot of noise, so you want to put on some hearing protection. Next thing is a face shield. Whenever you're working with a metal stud cut-off saw, you always use safety glasses and a face shield in tandem. Now oftentimes you can get face shields that connect to your hard hat. This one doesn't have that option. So face shields, hearing protection, and work gloves. So now that we're ready to operate the saw, you want to plug it in. So here in the shop, all our plugs are GFCI protected. So I know this plug here is GFCI protected. If you're not sure your receptacle is GFCI protected, you would need to use a GFCI pigtail like this. Now if you're going to run out and use a cord, a 50-foot cord, can anybody tell me where you would plug this in? At the source. You always want to plug this in at the source. So if the receptacle's over there, you want to plug your GFCI receptacle pigtail into the source and run your cord out. You never run a cord out and then plug your GFCI pigtail into the cord. GFCIs always get plugged in at the source. So now that we're ready to cut, first thing you want to do is get your metal studs. I got 2 of them here. You see them nestled together. That's one of the advantages of using a metal stud cut-off saw, is that you can cut multiple studs together. Now, I always like to use a Sharpie when laying out for metal studs. So make your mark. Sharpies just work better than pencils. Get your studs. Line it up, put it, clamp it down. You want to make sure that you clamp these right down with the clamping mechanism on the saw. It really holds them in place good. And now you're ready to make your cuts. See, that works pretty good. Makes a lot of noise, right? All right, so let's quickly review. If you have to change the blade on the saw, what should you do? What's the first thing you do? Louis, can you tell me? Get a saw blade. Yeah, that's good, but what about unplugging the saw? Remember, always unplug the saw before you service it or change the blade. Next, if you have to use a GFCI pigtail like this, where do you plug in your GFCI pigtail? Karen, what do you think? At the source, right? Always plug in your GFCI pigtail at the source and then run your cord out. PPE. So we always have safety glasses. What else do we use for PPE? Anybody? That's right, gloves. We always use our gloves when working with metal studs and a metal stud cut-off saw. Anything else? Joe? Hearing protection, right. Some form of hearing protection. Anything else? Yep. Face shields. Face shields are always very important. Face shield in tandem with your safety glasses at all times. All right, so anybody got any questions? All right, we're good. So everybody, let's break up into groups of 2s. Go to the shop, to the tool room, get issued a metal stud cut-off saw. Go to your workstation. I'll be passing out a cut list for people to make their cuts. I'm going to be walking around and inspecting, making sure people are doing it correctly. All the saws will be without an abrasive blade on it, so you will be expected to install an abrasive blade. All right, let's get to it. Thank you.